let us talk a little bit about what is the message of the Bhagavad Gita. What is it really trying to say to us, right? We're all learning this, we want to learn it. So what exactly is that book trying to convey, and how exactly will it help us? So if you analyze this world, you find an interesting paradox, right? And what is that paradox? Is almost invariably where you find people active, dynamic, productive, prosperous. Almost as a rule, you find them also stressed, agitated, burnt out. Why is that? And where you find people who are relatively peaceful. See, you go to the remote villages in India or the eastern part of the world, even today, you find them relatively harmonious, peaceful. But you will not want to live that life because there is no dynamism, there is no production, there is no prosperity. So, how absurd this is if you analyze, right? Why is it like that? You may say, no, I don't belong to that category. Ask yourself, what do you look forward to in life? Everybody who is active, who's working, who's producing, they look forward to weekends and vacations all the time. Why? You're all the time looking to get away from work to find peace. See, this is the paradox you must understand. If you cannot find happiness in work, you will never find it by trying to get away from it. It's not possible. So the challenge in life is always to combine both these aspects. How can you be successful without stress? In fact, that's the most popular topic these corporates and all want, right? They keep approaching for talks and help. What is it? Success without stress. How can we achieve that? And in fact, the Gita is founded on that principle. This is the practical wisdom of this great book. In fact, if you go to the beginning of the Gita, the second chapter, there are two interesting sentences. The first is, in fact, parts of sentences. He says, Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam means equanimity, peace. Peace of mind is yoga. Yoga doesn't mean the physical exercises which everybody understands as yoga. Yoga means the genuine pursuit of the higher. The pursuit of your fulfillment, purpose, mission in life. That is yoga. And it's far more deeper than what people believe, which we'll talk about. So he says that Samatvam yoga uchyate, peace of mind is yoga. And then 2 verses later, he says yoga karmasu kaushalam. Karmasu kaushalam means skill in action is yoga. So you get an impression, peace of mind is yoga. Peace means getting away, going to a nice mountain, meditating. God knows what people have an idea of peace. Silence. No. He equates yoga to peace of mind and skill in action. Means you must be dynamic, productive in whatever you do. Skillful. Enthusiastic. So, how to combine both these is the message of the Gita. It's a practical philosophy of life. It has nothing to do with any religion. It has nothing to do with any person. This is the beauty of this message, of this book. So, the Gita is one of the textbooks of the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal. Dharma means principles. These are eternal principles. They belong to all human beings, just as there are eternal physical principles like gravity, relativity. These are all eternal principles. Doesn't matter who found it. Vaccines are eternal principles, right? A vaccine is released. It can be released in America, but all human beings will benefit by it because it's founded on biological principles, eternal. This is science. So the Gita is founded on the subjective science, the science of the self, eternal principles. In fact, you will find throughout the Gita, he uses the word yaha. Yaha means he who follows this. It's not a particular person, a particular individual who's doing this particular ritual or following this particular book. No, whoever follows it, this is what happens. And throughout the Gita you find the word tasmat, which means therefore. So he gives clear logical arguments and comes to irrefutable conclusions. It's like mathematics. So any scientific minded person, any logical person will find this appealing. You're illogical, you won't understand what this is. So, and in fact the dialogue is in the form of a question and answer session. So Arjuna, the disciple, the student is asking questions and Krishna, the teacher, is explaining answers. So it's in the form of a scientific dialogue. There's no arbitrary statements, do's and don'ts. This is what it is. So, eternal principles of living. In fact, even though the teacher is Krishna, you will find him throughout the text saying, Uchyate, thus have we heard it from the masters. And if you go to the source of the Gita, which is the Upanishads, if you go there, they will say, thus have we heard it from our masters. So this is an eternal knowledge coming down thousands of years through thousands of people, exactly like science. You can't say one person wrote science. No one person can write this knowledge. These are eternal principles. No doubt, great masters come and explain it, add to it, add to the explanation, not the knowledge. Knowledge is one. So, the background of the Gita is the knowledge which is called as Vedanta. Veda means knowledge or wisdom, Anta means end or ultimate. So Vedanta means the ultimate wisdom. And there's a pun on this word. And the pun on the word is Vedanta also means end of the Veda, right? Anta means end, Veda means knowledge. So Vedanta comes from the end portion of the ancient texts called the Vedas. The end portion of these texts, each of these Vedas is called the Upanishads, which is the philosophical essence of life. So Vedanta is the philosophy of the Upanishads, which were themselves written thousands of years before the Gita. Gita itself is thousands of years old. So you can imagine what power there is in these texts and words, because they are founded on just truths of life, not opinions of any person or prophet. No such thing. So as you study it, or you've been studying it, you will understand it's just logic and reason. And just as we try and follow that same principle. If you have any questions or clarifications, you are welcome to ask them. So What is the literal meaning of this word, Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavat means the Lord, of the Lord. Gita means song. So the literal meaning is song of the Lord. In other words, the teachings of an enlightened soul. And what is the message? So the Gita starts with the word dharma and ends with the word mama. So the whole Gita, which is 700 verses, the message is dharma mama. My dharma means my nature. The Gita, or any philosophy for that matter, is trying to reveal to you what is your nature. You are not this person. You are not this Mr. So-and-so who was born in this year and is a husband of this person, or father, or wife, or son. You are not this. Your real nature is divine, supreme, and the Gita is trying to explain that to you. Very lovingly, very patiently, goes on trying. So you may say, so what if I don't know my nature? See, it's like a person who's drunk, A person who's drunk with alcohol doesn't know himself. He can't maintain the right relationship with the world. Isn't it? A drunk person can write away his property, can meet with a fatal accident, can do all sorts of things, can commit crimes. Because he's not himself or herself. So similarly, right now we have lost our real nature. We are not our real self. Therefore, we have the wrong relationship with the world. You may have heard this before, but you don't understand it. You continue to identify with this false personality and you make a mess out of everything. It's a real mess everywhere. So much stress, addiction, depression, divorce at the individual level. And you look at the world today, what's going on? Terrorism, war, corruption, greed. It's totally destroying every country on this planet. Nothing is exempt. Because people have lost their divine essence and got completely caught up in the world. And in fact, that is the title of the first chapter of the Gita. It's called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It starts with the yoga of Arjuna's agitation, stress, sadness. Arjuna represents you and me, the individual, the human being who has lost his divine self and got caught up in the world. In fact, the very first chapter gives the clue to where the problem lies. So most, if not all of you, know the background of the Gita. So there are these virtuous brothers, 5 brothers called the Pandavas, who are forced to go to war with the unrighteous rulers called the Kauravas, their own cousins. And Krishna has supported the Pandavas because it's a way to get rid of these unrighteous Kauravas who were a real cancer to the society then. So the war is set. It has been decided after years and years of negotiations which have failed. It's the last resort, and Arjuna is the main warrior. And he is ready to fight. And when he sees on the opposing side his brothers, cousins, friends, even his elders, his guru who has taught him, he collapses. He gets into this stress, agitation, confusion. So he gets stressed emotionally, and that stress leads to complete breakdown in clarity. He can't think clearly. So when you are agitated in life, you stop thinking clearly. And when you stop thinking clearly, you can't act properly. Your action stops. And his great bow called the Gandiva, that's the name of his bow, he puts it down and says, I will not fight. And that's what's happening today. Everybody has stopped action. You want to get away for weekends, vacations. You want early retirement. You don't want to work because you're agitated. And what is the cause of the agitation? That's what is beautifully given. What is the starting point? Arjuna's focus shifted from his obligation as a warrior. What he was supposed to do, what he ought to do as a commander and a warrior was to fight the righteous war. But his focus shifted from his obligation to his personal desires. My brothers, my cousins, my teachers. And the stress started. So friends, this is the wrong approach in life. Your focus has shifted from what you ought to do and has come to your personal desires, selfish desires. Me and mine, what will happen to me or my people, and that has completely destroyed your life. You get into stress. Moha means you get deluded, and ultimately it affects you physically. You can't act, your body breaks down. Blood pressure, blood sugar, antidepressants. This is the result. So the Gita gives you the wisdom to rise above your personal limited outlook in life and perform your obligatory duties. And this wisdom is called Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the path of action, the path of right action. In fact, at the end of the Gita, the last chapter, Arjuna tells Krishna, Nashto moha smritir labdva, means my delusion has gone, my intellect has come back to me. Stitosmi gata sandeha, means I am firm now with no doubt, and I will do my obligation. So that's the result. How he starts off in chapter 1 and how he ends up in chapter 18. That's the transformation. Hopefully it'll transform you if you are committed. So Karma Yoga is the path of action, which is your practical application of this knowledge. But the Gita also gives you the knowledge of life itself. Why are you here? What are you doing? What is your purpose? What is the truth? What is falsehood? What is permanent? What is impermanent? And that wisdom is called Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. And all the knowledge in the world will not help you unless you develop a feeling, an intense awareness of the truth, that desire to realize the self. That feeling is called bhakti, devotion, that awareness of the Supreme. So you have a physical body with which you have to do karma yoga, the path of action. You have a mind, which is your emotions, with which you have to practice devotion. And you have an intellect with which you need to gain this wisdom, knowledge. So the Gita provides the comprehensive material for all three, how to do all three. And that is why it has been studied for thousands and thousands of years by millions and billions of people. And to give them that inspiration to understand, execute and complete the purpose of life. So once you do, you get these three goals, which the Gita calls as Siddhim, success, Sukham, peace, and Param Gatim, means the ultimate goal of self-realization. So it gives you a complete knowledge for your life, which will give you peace of mind, success in your life, in your action, in your work, and take you towards self-realization. The ultimate goal, the infinite peace and happiness that you unconsciously seek every moment of your life. So what more do you want? All you have to do is, with dedication and commitment, just pursue this knowledge. And the Gita has been doing that for thousands of years. So it has 700 verses, so it's not just a few pages. It's a comprehensive manual for life and living. So the last verse of the Gita gives that conclusion. The last verse of the Gita says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, where there is an enlightened soul like Krishna in this text. Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, where there is an archer like Arjuna. Archer means a dynamic individual interested in self-development. The terrific combination of these two. Wherever that happens, he says, Tatra Shri, there is prosperity, means success in action. Vijay, success, accomplishment. Bhuti, spiritual glory. Bhuti means your spiritual development. Dhruva Niti, Matir Mama. Dhruva Niti means sound decision making. You understand clearly. No loans, no living beyond my means. Clear understanding, what you ought to do, what you ought not to do in every aspect of life. So that is the message of this great text.